Tell
The
me what I.
Bears get branded in Indianapolis, and we're going to talk about it next. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the Halas Hangover. I got my boys in the house. We're all reeling after Matt Eberflus's 26 loss in 37 games, but we got some bright stars to talk about. We all are, I think, in agreement. Caleb Williams, 33 of 52 passing, 363, 2 touchdowns, 3 turnovers, unfortunately.
It's too
But
much.
those are going to happen with rookies. And I have to say, there's been a lot of negative stuff happening today, guys. A lot of negative talk, I should say, out there about Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields, which I don't even want to talk about. I'm just not really appreciating it.
We're going to talk about it.
We wanted a rookie. We got a rookie. This is what happens with rookies. This is his third game, and I think he made some really great strides during this game. The one thing that really upset me, and we'll get into this, Caleb Williams, was the usage of Roschon Johnson. I've been a guy begging and begging and begging and begging for this guy. I thought he came in and played a really good game. Number one, I think it's the best way for the Chicago Bears to fix this run game. Right now you have a guy in DeAndre Swift. He's underperforming, maybe not being utilized right by our offensive coordinator. But I want to talk to you guys. I want you guys to answer me. Give me some of your positive takeaways. One for me was the development of the pocket presence for Caleb Williams during this football game. I thought his pocket awareness in the first half was awful. I thought as the game went on, he started moving, clearing the pocket a little bit better, and making some things happen and turning into the guy we wanted to see, which gives me future hope for the next couple of weeks. Gentlemen, Kyle, Roschon Johnson, can he fix the run game for the Bears?
Fix the run game for the Bears? Probably not. No, yes. But he can definitely make the run game we've had for the last 2 games look a little bit better. If you look at DeAndre Swift over the first 3 games of the season, he's averaging 1.8 yards per carry. Roschon Johnson in that game averaged 3.8 yards per carry. That is not an amazing or successful run game by any means necessary, but it's definitely something you can build off of and something you shouldn't abandon. I mean, if Roschon Johnson's averaging 3.8 yards per carry, that means some of his runs are going for over 4 yards. That's the run game you can stick to and keep the defense a little bit confused. When you put DeAndre Swift out there and he averages 1.8 yards per carry and it's second and 8, third and 8, third and 9, the defense knows what you're going to do on every single drive. So, I mean, Roschon Johnson could definitely help the Bears. And if you guys watched yesterday, he was once again the best pass protecting running back on the Chicago Bears. So, do you want to talk about positives for the game? How about Rome Odunze? I mean, Rome Odunze was quiet for the first 2 weeks of the season. He comes in this week. He has 6 receptions for 112 yards and a touchdown. There's obviously some chemistry between Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. It's obviously an offense that's going to get better as the year goes on. But there's a lot of question marks in particular with the coaching staff. What do you think, Brian?
I think there's a lot of positives to come out of that game. Are we talking about the run game specifically? I still thought it was pretty bland.
What positives did you take away from the game, Brandon?
Well, our quarterback developed for another week. And now I stated this, guys, before the season started, he's going to play a lot of young quarterbacks, sophomores and rookies. He's now played better than both of the young quarterbacks other than C.J. Stroud that he's played. He played a better game than Will Levis. One thing I'm going to tell you I saw after this week is Anthony Richardson is not a good passer in the NFL, man. I mean, God, those receivers were hurting for a wide open flat. But, I thought the Bears looked good, man, and majority of the offense, to be honest. The one thing that I'm going to say, guys, is just the negative plays. I don't know what the numbers are, but the Bears are certainly leading the league in that. It's just every time Caleb throws a 15-yard pass, we try a stupid gimmick run that ends up 4 yards in the backfield. You can't have a rookie quarterback trying to overcome negative plays. It consistently seems to be a thing. But yeah, I thought Shane Waldron was aggressive in his play calling. I thought they were moving the ball downfield. I mean, Caleb Williams now has thrown for the most yards in any game this season, and he's in the 3rd week of his career. He also threw for more yards than Justin Fields ever has, for all the Fields fans out there. We want to bring that conversation up. Oh, Caleb looked comfortable. The offensive guys, the Pryor change was huge. Want to talk about positives? Pryor is playing his ass off. He's playing as if he wants to keep Caleb upright. Nate Davis, to me, wasn't so much a question of performance as much as it was effort. And there's a guy in there who's going to try harder. That makes me feel good. That's something the Bears need to keep doing. So yeah, I would say all in all, my biggest takeaway in terms of positives, guys, is our quarterbacks progressed a little bit more. And regardless of how you want this season to end, whether it be playoffs or Super Bowl or whatever, that is the goal this year. The goal this year is to watch that improve week by week. And
Well, I mean, I'd say the biggest positive out of this game, guys, is that Caleb, Brandon said, developed another week. He survived another week, guys. He survived. He got put down 4 times in this game, and those were with 4-man rushes. So this offensive line is still not doing its job the way they're getting beat one-on-one. And Caleb dropped back 60 times. 60 times. And in thinking about that, it's hard for me to find positives in this game, to be honest. Caleb looks great. That's the positive. We're all gonna have that. Like, Caleb looks like our quarterback of the future. He looks like he's surviving and somewhat thriving despite all the bullshit around him. An offensive coordinator that wants to drop him back 60 times. A head coach that doesn't know how to manage a game. I mean, an offense that can't run the football, an offensive line that can't move anyone off the line of scrimmage. This is supposed to be a positive segment. I guess I've highlighted what my positive is.
You ruined that, Dustin.
Well, we got to be real here, guys. And I didn't see a lot to like in that game. That's a game they should have won, and they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, guys. Period.
How about this? I was talking to Kyle about this earlier because, if I may use the Cubs for a second, we all jumped on the Cubs and Craig Counsell earlier in the year, and I always says, practice patience, man. Practice patience, practice patience. He's got to get his hands on this roster. He's got to move some things around. And I don't feel like this is any different. It is a new offensive coordinator. He's got new tools. He's figuring out his roster. Another great positive for me was Cole Kmet's usage this week. 81% of the snaps for Cole Kmet, and only the rest went to Everett. That's a huge positive. Roschon Johnson got on the field, showed he can run, pass block. He had 4 catches for 30 yards, 8 yards a catch. They're starting to figure out this roster. I'm going to say it can't all be pessimistic. We still have to be optimistic because I still think there are a lot of good things that came out. And as this team continues to develop, I think we may see an offense uniformed a little bit better. And
you have faith in this coaching staff to do that after what you've seen in these first 3 games.
I don't have a lot of faith in Matt Eberflus. No, I have to have faith in Shane Waldron because Shane Waldron has done this in the NFL. He's been a successful coordinator in the NFL. His offenses were not that bad. His third down efficiency may be. But yes, I have to sit here and think that at some point they're going to figure this machine out and get it working and head it in the right direction. There was positives in this game. The second half was more positive offensively than the first half. Am I wrong?
No, they got a touchdown. Roman Caleb hooked up for a touchdown. But then right after that, the lack of discipline for this team and the lack of preparedness showed because Caleb and Rome are running up the sideline fighting over a ball while our coaches are one's putting up 1 finger, one's putting up 2 fingers, and that should only be coming from Eberflus. And then we got to burn the timeout to do a 2-point conversion when we were going to kick a fucking extra point when everyone should have known we were going for 2 in that situation. So like those things that I have very little faith when I see stuff like that. I'm sorry, guys. It's hard to have faith in a coaching staff when you see that kind of malpractice. I didn't like it.
I will never doubt that this team is very unprepared and not coached very well, from Chris Morgan to the head coach. But where does this all fall, guys? Where does it fall?
I mean, I will
to keep these guys.
I will say, I would rather see Caleb Williams throw 50 times than 13. I mean, with the Bears team we've watched for the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years, who are been terrible at developing quarterbacks. I mean, eventually these guys have to make mistakes, guys. They have to throw the ball.
Now, let's add a little nuance to that, though.
So limit them to 12 games. I mean, but Justin, if you go back
50
and look
times in a loss or 13 times in a win.
I mean, but look at the first two.
50 times in a loss, 13 in a win.
Give me a second. The first two games of C.J. Stroud's career, these 28 for 44, 30 for 47, both losses. C.J. Stroud was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year. He led the league in yards. I'm not saying that I want the Caleb Williams to throw the ball 50 times every game, but look what these young quarterbacks are doing. 7 times last year, C.J. Stroud threw the ball over 35 times. Eventually, for their first year, you have to let them throw the ball and make mistakes. You have to let them learn what they're doing wrong. If you're like, hey, we're afraid you're going to make mistakes, we're just going to limit you to 13 passes a game. That's not going to help his development. I'm not saying he should be dropping back in the pocket.
There's a middle ground.
Yes,
there's a middle
I agree, and I'm hoping
this extreme where you drop him back 60 times.
And I'm hoping that at some point they're going. This is the Bears from last year. Let's let Justin Fields throw 9 times. Here's the Bears 56 times, whatever this year. Hopefully, eventually they will meet in the middle and they'll find out that. But I mean, and the Bears, to Sean's point, if they're going to do that and they're going to run the ball more and commit to the run, it's going to have to be Roshan Johnson, because I don't know if you guys have been watching or not. DeAndre Swift's not the guy right now with the run scheme they have going. He is not the guy. He's not the guy. It doesn't matter. You can love them all you want. And maybe when the Bears start to pass the ball more effectively, they'll start to find more plays for DeAndre Swift where they can get him open space like he's supposed to, or get him the ball.
You can't go into a football game saying Caleb's going to throw this many times, we're going to run this many times. The game dictates that, right? And the most important.
Did that game last night dictate that did that dictate that he would throw the ball 52 times? You felt like that was necessary?
Hold on. I don't think that was necessary, no.
How close that game was the entire time?
It doesn't run call, play call. You guys can do 20. You can do split down the middle. You can do 20, 80. You could this. What's important is that you establish the run game so you have time of possession. Because I'm going to say this: the first time in 3 weeks this season, their run defense was terrible, and that's because they were on the field for 65% of the game. The time of possession is starting to trickle into the
Bears
unit.
had time of possession of 35 minutes.
The Bears won time possession.
Colts had 24-59.
Okay, then the reality is the Bears defense just folded, because that's the thing that concerned me most about this game. And we can sit here and dog on the offense like we have the first 2 weeks again and again and again. We can say all we want to say about how bad the rush game is, how bad the play calling was. If that run defense goes back to what it was in the early half of last year, this Bears team's doomed.
Well, no, the Colts have the best offensive line in football.
And Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's going to have 100-yard games. Everybody.
So, I mean, every time they play a quality unit, we're going to allow 150 yards.
I'm going to say something I didn't think I'd ever say. And first off, I'm going to admit I believe I'm wrong on the Minnesota Vikings. I think I can say that safely right now. I would like to see the balance that the Vikings are using, the Chicago Bears use. If you go to their 3 games, their run and pass is separated by 1 or 2 either way. 28, 26, 25, 24. Balanced. You need that here in Chicago. It will make Caleb Williams so much better and more effective, dude. That's just my opinion.
And I agree with that.
We should let's hammer out a little bit more on the positive side of things before we dive into, because we can do 2 hours.
Well, first let's shout out everybody in the chat, guys. Bruce, VVV, Jiggy, Elizabeth, thanks for being here. Hit the like button if you haven't already, guys. We appreciate you.
Hey, and really quick, I want to thank everyone that's joined us since the beginning and that continues to check in. We really appreciate you guys so much, more than you know. Thank you guys, everybody, from the bottom of my hearts. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, breaking news, Bruce. That's what I'm calling him now.
Breaking news, Bruce.
Keep us updated on
these football games.
Yeah, I didn't know that nigga.
This guy's got more nicknames than any of us.
I do want to get real.
Sean, why don't you keep those comments down there, man?
The Bears' offensive line
producing on the fly
was clearly heavily focused on pass blocking, and it didn't help the run at all. But I will say this, man. First off, 2 of those sacks Caleb took on Caleb's dime. That's Caleb.
Sure.
Caleb took 2 of those sacks by himself.
The coverage was great downfield. He had nowhere to throw the ball.
I want to say this. They did hold a pocket for K. He was even able to step into a pocket for a majority of this game. Now, there was times where I wish they would have gotten the hell out, I wish they would have moved the pocket, but they didn't. But you got to have some faith in the fact that our quarterback was not on his ass for 4 quarters of that game, guys. And when this is what I said this on our Thursday night show, me and Dustin did the show. I said I could see a 300-yard game coming from Caleb, because I think if the kid is given time to throw, he is not just good, he's lethal. And I saw that, guys. In the fourth quarter of that game, if Caleb had gotten the ball back, there was going to be nothing that team was going to do to stop him from getting the end zone. And if he had gotten
a strip sack,
yeah, which that's one thing I want to, because we're talking about coaching. That's the play that we need to look at. That's the play that should be addressed most. Was that play right there?
There's a couple of them. There's a couple.
If you go back and watch that,
there's a couple of them.
That wasn't a breakdown on the offensive line. That is Cole Kmet schemed to block a defensive end. That's what that was, and that is ridiculous. I don't care how good a blocker you are as a tight end. You're not going to beat the number 1 defender taken in the NFL draft this year. This is not
actually, man. If you go back and watch that play, they had Mercedes Lewis and Cole Kmet on lock too. They were both supposed to block.
That's still a terrible idea.
Yeah, Mercedes Lewis can't move. He was supposed to drop back deeper than Cole Kmet, and there's no way he was going to get there. He shouldn't be on this roster, guys. He shouldn't be on this roster.
Latu over 3 tight ends. It's just not smart football. It's not. And it would a pivotal moment of that game.
Yeah, don't get cute. Don't get cute. Just line your 5 guys up against their 4 and fucking just protect, and let's hit a play. Let's just be straightforward, aggressive, keep it simple in moments like that. You know, you can't.
The Bears had the momentum. The Bears had just scored. They had the momentum, and that blew it, man. The defense got a big stop.
Well, I mean, we were talking about positives. I don't want to jump into the negatives too early here, guys. But I mean, we also, once again, as great as he looked, as great as he's obviously improving, he's developing. But Caleb's those 2 interceptions are not acceptable passes in the NFL, and he knows that. He knows that. He went and looked at those plays, and he was like, "I can't throw that pass. That's just not acceptable."
Oh, that first
the first one was horrendous. Absolutely awful. Just awful. Caleb Williams played a part in losing that game.
Caleb Williams, absolutely.
Week 3, 60 dropbacks.
That's where I'm going. Any quarterback is going to turn the ball over multiple times if they drop back that much. Like, you're just increasing your chances by so much.
Yeah, but you got to be really careful about just not giving Caleb any of the blame at all. I mean, because at some point, guys, rookie quarterback,
those were terrible decisions.
He has to get blame. I mean, if you throw a pick like that, you get blamed for that. I mean, that first pick that Caleb Williams threw was the worst pass of his 3 years.
He had no feet underneath him. He was falling backwards.
Throw that ball away. Throw the ball away. Get rid of the ball.
So we know PFF is giving of the 2 interceptions to Caleb Williams, only 1 was turnover worthy. They're saying the second one was solely on Roma Dunze. That's just PFF
catch, man.
It was.
That would have been a really tough catch, and the guy punches it out from underneath him.
If the ball hits your hands, there's no other argument.
Okay, but if the ball hits your hands and then someone else punches the
ball,
there's
no other argument.
That's tough.
And it hit his hands back here.
They were in front. He was in front right here. Like he was underneath. He was over the top of the one guy.
You guys, the fact of the matter that it was double coverage, the ball should not have been thrown.
DeAndre Swift was wide open in the flat. DeAndre Swift shouldn't have been.
You don't throw the ball in double coverage, guys, especially if you have a wide open player in the flat. That's a gimme. You got to take what the defense gives you sometimes.
That's what Caleb has to get better at.
Caleb is going to get better at finding the underneath and those floating passes and supposed to just bombing it or dumping it off every single play. He's got to get used to the middle of the field.
How long do you guys think it was going to take for this offense? Like, by what week were you going to be like, oh, they're firing on all cylinders?
6 weeks, yeah. You should give rookie quarterback 6 weeks to
I thought after the bye. Yeah, after the bye.
So the game has slowed down.
As a matter of fact, on the preview for the season, we said that we expect the run game and the defense to carry the Bears the first 6 weeks of the season. Where the run game has went is a mystery because you returned an entire line that was a great run blocking team last season.
So that's the scheme, right? That has to be, right?
Well,
you have a player in DeAndre Swift that is not equipped to run the way they're trying to run him. That is, and then the offensive line is not getting any push. Like it's got to be a combination of both, guys. Because the offensive line, if we're gonna put those interceptions on Caleb, the lack of force coming off the snap for this offensive line concerns me. Like they're not pushing the team across from them at all. And I mean, the Colts made adjustments to try to stop the run in that game. Obviously, we all knew they would. As much as it was a get right game for the Bears to run the ball. It was a get right game for the Colts to stop the run because the Bears have been awful at the run all season, just as bad as the Colts have been at allowing the run. But they weren't moving those guys, and they weren't trying to do anything to misdirect them, to get DeAndre Swift in open field to try to make a play. You know, it was just, again, like they ran 28 times, guys, but I still don't feel like they made an attempt to actually establish the run. It was never in a rhythm. It was never like on we could get to a second and manageable, you to run for it. And then guys on the goal line, you're running from the shotgun on the goal line.
A pistol speed option.
Where's your physical mentality? You know, you got to have a better attitude down there. I think part of that attitude is how your coaches set you up, and you got to come in and fix formation.
You guys, there's plenty of blame to go around for the offensive line. It's clearly, I mean, first of all, DeAndre Swift is not finding the holes that he should be finding. He does not look good. Second of all, you're 100% right, Dustin. The offensive play calling and scheme is not helping the run blocking at all. And lastly, these guys are just underperforming. I mean, Tevin Jenkins looks like shit, guys. You can go back and watch the game. It's not just the scheme that's making him look. He's not getting any penetration to the defensive line at all. He does not look like the same player he did. I don't know if this is like I didn't get paid in the offseason.
Let's see Tevin Jenkins get put on his ass.
But Tevin Jenkins is not the same guy he was last year. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if something personal, there's an injury or something they're not talking about. I have no idea. But man, he does not look good. He does not look good. There's plenty of blame to go around for the Bears run game and that. But I agree with Dustin. I mean, 28 times. If one of your running backs is averaging almost 4 yards carry, like we talked about, guys, that's not great in the NFL, but that's enough to continue to try to pound the ball. It's 100% enough. 4 yards of carry is enough to continue to commit to the run. They should have stuck to the run. They should have been trying to get themselves in second and third and short. And they were throw. You can't do that in the NFL, especially against a team that knows you're going to throw the ball. Like the Colts knew the Bears wanted to throw the ball.
If you're going to pound the ball, it's with Roschon Johnson. I agree with that. But then you get DeAndre Swift on the outside.
Yes, things will open up for DeAndre once Roschon starts to develop a run game a little bit. Then you could start opening up a little bit because then they're going to try to commit to stopping Roschon Johnson, and they'll start playing up, and then you can get.
You just said DeAndre Swift that knows you're going to pass the ball. When you have first and goal, second and goal, third and goal, fourth and goal against the team that's easily projected as the worst rush defense in the league by the end of the season, what do you think the Colts defense are thinking you're going to do?
Brennan, they committed to stopping the run, so they knew the Bears were going to pass the ball.
Right.
That's why you commit to stopping the run. Make them one-dimensional.
So what do you do on that offensive possession? What do you
run
do?
A play action. Run a fucking play action and have a wide open tight end leaking out of there, bro.
You don't even have to be that cute. How about 2 QB sneaks?
I would have.
How about that? 3rd and inches.
No. Here's what killed me, guys. Here's what killed me on the goal line was putting Khalil Herbert in Wildcat. Like, who are you fooling there? Everybody knows what you're doing. So you just got to be bigger, tougher than the guys across from you because they're going to load up in the center. They know exactly where that ball's going. And you just made it very easy for them to know how they need to key on you on defense in that spot. And you can't do that. You gotta trick them a little bit. You got to do something to catch them off guard.
On that third down, I think it should have been a pass play, some kind of play action, roll out fake, get the tight end out into the corner of the end zone or something. I mean, you got 3 yards on the first 2 plays. That third down got blown out by a defender. I mean, they knew it was coming. And this is what I was saying on the 4th down when they called that pistol speed option bullshit.
What the fuck?
What are you doing?
Look, they called an option on 4th and inches. I've never seen that in my life. Not even in college football. I've never seen that in college football. I've never an option. The one thing that you can guarantee is going to occur on an option is the ball is going to move backwards. It doesn't matter if it's the quarterback that takes it or the running back that takes it. The first step of an option is move out. What are you doing? I don't understand. Why are you getting the ball further away from the goal line to start the play? It doesn't make sense.
Tyquan Lewis said that he read it off of Braxton Jones, guys. Braxton Jones was confused on that play, according to Tyquan Lewis, the defensive end for the Colts, and he was like, "I just knew."
Sean, put that comment. We should get to some of these comments here, guys.
Well, hold on. Can we talk about what Coleman Shelton said about that play?
Go ahead.
Have you guys heard this yet?
Well, they knew they were running out of time, so they just snapped the ball instead of changing it.
Coleman Shelton
Caleb Williams said.
Coleman Shelton said on that play, it wasn't a good look to make that call. That's what he called out Shane Waldron. He didn't beat around the bay. He said,
I think he might have actually.
No, I don't think he meant it that way. Well,
Caleb Williams came out after the game, guys, and said that the reason they didn't change, they knew it wasn't the way the defense was set up. That was not a good play call, but they didn't. They were running out of time. The play clock was running out, so they instead of changing the play, they just snapped the ball.
That is
coaching. That's coaching.
Caleb saw the left side loading up, and he wanted to switch it to the right.
But real quick, Scott Angel says down here, Tevin didn't get his extension. His attitude has reflected that since the Bears said no. I think there's some validity behind that. I mean,
I agree.
Unless you guys can think of another reason why one of the top 3-5 guards in the NFL just becomes absolutely useless.
The Bears said they will talk about it at the
after the bye week.
That's the same.
No. What would you think if he gets paid in the bye week and all of a sudden he becomes the best guard in the NFL?
Well, let's just say that Tevin Jenkins is only hurting himself. He's hurting his Bears team. But he has an opportunity to nail down lifetime money for himself and be a Chicago Bear for another 3 to 5 years.
Guys,
he's shitting it down the toilet.
I agree.
That's Ryan Poles saying to him, we're going to talk about it in the bye week. So between weeks 1 through 7,
get your shit together and hustle. Yeah, let's go.
I think this was more or less, hey, can you stay healthy and stay on the field? Let's see where you are at the bye week. Because let's be honest, Tevin Jenkins can't stay on the field.
Yeah, I like this comment here too by Brewhouse7. The same O-line had Rojo, Herbert, and Foreman when not a healthy scratch, having great gains last season. We now have Swift running sideways and backwards. I agree 100%,
Justin Fields had a lot to do with the rush game last year.
The Bears offensive line.
The amount of threat he caused to the defense in terms of him running the ball was a big deal for sure. But in terms of Swift, guys, I thought he was going to do well to start this season. It's not working out the way I thought it would. The Bears are not utilizing him in the way that best suits him, and this offensive line is not the same as the one he had in front of him in Philly last year, obviously. So Roschon is a guy that definitely should get some opportunities here to try to start wearing down that defense a little bit. I want to see some thunder and lightning. You know, they can really unleash Swift if they start pounding them down the middle and getting some success, like you were saying, Kyle. Even if it's that 3.5 yards a carry, fuck, it's better than 1.5.
Yeah, the defense still has to commit to the run. I mean, they still know that the run's coming. Even if it's 3.5 carries, it doesn't matter. They're still like, we don't know if they're going to run or pass because the 3.5 yards carry is enough to keep running the ball. But the Bears keep just neglecting the run after the first or second quarter. It's getting ridiculous. Like guys, we talked about this on the podcast before this game. We said it doesn't matter how bad the run looks. Stay with it, commit to it. This is going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a close game. You're going to be there at the end. Keep the defense on their heels. Keep running the ball as much as you possibly can. This is the most success they've had running the ball, and it might have been the quickest they gave up on it of all 3 games. I mean, I don't understand it.
I was really impressed with Roschon in passing.
Just as a player, dude, his pass protection. Roschon's just a player.
He found the zone in a passing game. He turned around and looked at Caleb eye to eye, like, give him the damn ball, and he made plays. He broke tackles. One thing I haven't seen DeAndre Swift do, I know he's more of an elusive player than a strong player, but when he gets hit, he just kind of falls, and that's really disappointing. He keeps running into the back of an offensive lineman and then just kind of falling. It's like,
guys,
you saw DeAndre Carter get hit before the first down, and he gained like 5 more yards crawling.
Yeah, he just got small. I love DeAndre Carter, actually, guys. But I like this comment from Kyle Harris, because Kyle did mention this last week in terms of pace. Maybe it's an attitude thing with this team. Is that something worth talking about? Because when Cole Kmet said this in his post-game press conference at his locker, like, our attitude's got to be better down there. We got to finish these guys off. Do they have that attitude? Do they have that mentality of, we're just going to kick your ass? I feel like you need that in the NFL to be successful.
Cole Kmet has that attitude for sure.
I agree with that.
And establishing the run. I mean, is there validity to that, Sean?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, we it's just very frustrating just to see the makeup and how this has turned out, because we all came in with these very high expectations. You know what I mean? And now you see these little things breaking down, like maybe it's a contract situation with Tevin Jenkins. We don't know the little things, but you can definitely tell there's something different about this team that didn't change that much from last year to this year. And you touched on it a little bit earlier, Dustin. Maybe it is the scheme with these offensive linemen. I actually read something earlier today about Braxton Jones. It says Braxton Jones' performance is not actually that bad. He does have a problem with the bull rush and speed rush, but he's probably more built for a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields, opposed to a quarterback that sits in the pocket like Caleb Williams. So this could be another roster issue thing that has to be worked out. Not having proper
but
personnel or knowing your personnel to have them on the field.
But this isn't like, I mean, you could say, oh, the offensive line looks bad because Justin Fields isn't there anymore. But you guys, this is not some secret. This wasn't. We talked about this in the offseason.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the personnel doesn't.
That it might not mesh, and there's nothing we can do about it this year.
And what I'm saying is, we all talked about this throughout the whole offseason. The Bears' offensive line is the weakness of this team. So if we can see it, why can't Ryan Poles see it? We all knew it. Coleman Shelton, Nate Davis, Braxton Jones, all below average to below average. Yet here we are talking about Nate Davis, Braxton Jones, Coleman Shelton.
He just gave Nate Davis the contract. Braxton Jones is still on his rookie contract. Tevin Jenkins, they're both up for deals. You just drafted a right tackle in the first round. Like, it's not like they haven't put assets into this offensive line.
So we need to start.
It's just that they haven't maybe made the right decision.
Ryan Poles' judgment is the problem. It's not like he's ignored the offensive line. He's just not good at picking out offensive linemen.
So let me
ask you. Hold on.
Excuse this though. If you're saying he's not good at identifying offensive linemen, and we said next year we got to go into the draft and we have to get offensive linemen, do you guys all feel you trust Ryan Poles to draft the right players to put on this offensive line?
It depends what you're asking. Ryan Poles has had egregious history as a GM on the interior offensive line.
Correct.
He took a 5th-round tackle that's played well enough, and he drafted a 1st-round tackle on the other side. He can identify talent at the tackle position. He took one in the 3rd round this year, and as soon as that kid's healthy, I would put him on the damn field. I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't replace anyone. I would start to weasel him in a little bit, play by play. That's what I would do. Karan should be playing a little bit here and there. I'm not talking about this guy he goes out and replaces Braxton Jones. The interior offensive line is where Ryan Poles has his biggest issues.
Yeah, but
and
Brian,
we have not yet seen him draft a high interior offensive line.
You can talk about that pick right there. Like, as soon as Karan is healthy, well, then if you knew that this was going to be a problem, instead of drafting a guy who wasn't healthy, it was going to be development project.
He was the best tackle on the board
because he wasn't. Those guys weren't available in the 4th round. Where the
Cedric Van Pran went in the 4th round, guys. Cedric Van Pran was drafted in the 4th round. By all accounts, he's projected to be a good center in the NFL. He's supposed to be a good center. He was the year of Georgia before last. He was the best center in college football, projected to be the first center drafted. Before
the Bears made their decision
Johnson
to not draft a center when they traded for Bates and signed Shelton, man.
Yeah,
that was done.
It all goes back to Ryan Poles once again. I mean, this is concerning.
Of course, it all does.
There's no doubt about it.
He's put this roster together.
This is.
Here's the thing. Here's my thing, guys. This roster has talent. This offense has talent on it. This defense has talent on it, and I don't believe in the head coach. I don't. Here, listen, Matt Eberflus. If you guys have listened to Matt Eberflus in the last couple of days, yesterday and today, on some interviews I heard him on, guys are asking him very specific questions, like in the press conference and in the interview with Cap today. Like, hey, DeAndre Carter was schemed to where he's going to be blocking the defensive end for the Colts. How does that happen? You said last year that Darnell Mooney doing that was a bad idea, and Eberflus's response was, "We just got to get better there." We just got to get better there. Okay, yeah, obviously, dude, obviously. But here's my question, and I think it's the biggest question. Eberflus says we just got to get better there. Some general, vague bullshit that does not really answering any question. The big question to me is, does Eberflus actually have the answer to that question when someone asks it?
Well, he certainly isn't holding himself accountable.
No,
that's not accountable.
If he can't answer these questions, this Bears team is not going to get better, guys. If he can't answer the question, this Bears team ain't going to get better.
Make it better. Does he have the resolution to make? Is there a plan to make it better, or is it just we got to get better? Like,
well,
what the fuck does that mean? Come on, let's hear some specifics.
I think because of Caleb Williams, they'll ultimately get better anyway. I think this team will be better team.
Carter just needs to get bigger there.
I mean, I mean, the Bears scored. The Bears scored. Was that their?
I have another question.
Was that the Bears? Oh yeah, that was their second and third touchdown of the season in the same game. So ultimately, they are getting better every week. I do agree with Dustin though. He's going to limit their ceiling. Matt Eberflus is going to limit their ceiling for sure. They're not going to be a championship team if Matt Eberflus continues to do the shit he's doing. Now,
do we think he has the answers? Because he looked like the worst coach in football. He
I don't
looked like
think
the worst coach in football.
Yeah,
No.
he's not capable of making in-season adjustments. I mean, the Bears are that team that are like
in game.
the Bears
He's
are
not
that team
capable of
that's
making
like,
it in game.
well, this isn't
Well,
really
let's say-
working, but we're just going to
let's be
keep pounding
honest.
it into the wall.
He made adjustments in the Titans game and the Houston game at halftime.
Yeah, he
with
did.
his
He did make
defense.
adjustments in the
He did
Titans game
make
because
in-game
Pollard
adjustments.
was running all over them, and by the second half, he
Okay.
was
As a
averaging 2
defensive
yards.
coordinator, he made adjustments.
Yes, 100%. I think we're all on the same page. We're just saying, like, as a
I think
defensive
he's a
coordinator, Matt
stopgap,
Eberflus is
dude.
great. He's great.
He's a
He's awesome.
stopgap.
But
He's
he's just
not
not a
the
head
coach.
coach. He's not a leader of men.
No.
That's to me is what
You
he's
know
not
the
a
thing
leader
that
of men.
sucks the most is now we got Waldron here. We knew we shouldn't have Everflus here, but now we're going to have to fire them all and start this whole thing over with Caleb next year. The same. It's watch, rinse,
This is,
repeat.
yeah, we were just saying we were
that.
saying this before the season started though when they decided to keep.
I'm not going to.
Now it's becoming a reality. Though.
Let's hear it, Brandon. Let's let Brandon. Let's
We're
let
in-
Brandon be the voice of
We're
reason.
talking about now we have to fire our entire coaching staff after 3 weeks, guys. I mean, come on.
Bro, did you watch that game? Here,
Everflus goes, Brandon. Everyone's going with
So if
him.
the Bears win their next 3 games, we still have to fire the coach.
Depends how they play, man.
It depends on why they
Really
win.
depends how they play. Here,
Are they
let's,
winning in
let's
spite
be
of the
honest.
coaching staff?
Here, let me ask you this,
I
Brandon.
agree with you, Brew.
Whose roster's better, the Colts or the Bears?
What
The Bears.
The Colts
The Bears.
offensive line. The Colts
Games-
offensive
The
line.
Colts have a better offensive line. That's it. That's it.
A game you
And
shouldn't
a
have
better
won.
running back. Yeah. those two
Currently,
games.
going into next week, there's a ton of injuries. Los Angeles is a mass unit. Who's got the better roster on the field next week, the Bears or the Rams?
Where do you think the
I'm
Bears?
just asking
Where do you
questions.
think, where do you think the Bears lost that game?
Where do I think they lost the game?
In
I
a
thought
fumble.
I think they
And
the
a strip
fumble,
sack.
the
That's
strip
when they
sack,
lost the game.
and on the goal line.
I
think
think
they
the
lost that
Bears
game
lost that game.
Stopping the run. Stopping the run lost that game. The Bears didn't do it. That's what lost that
The Bears
football
were
game.
in the Bears had a
So you
chance to
can
win
tell
the
me the
game.
roster was better. Their defense is better than the Colts, but guess what? It wasn't yesterday. It wasn't.
It was no. Here it was. The
Jalen
game
Johnson
planning
is
was
the
awful.
worst game that I've seen in a long time.
The game planning was awful. When you go into a game against a team that has shown that they're willing to give you the run, and you can't, do everything to make sure that you take that from them, then that's a problem to me. If you go into a game against a team that's allowing 237 rush yards a game, and then you throw 52 times, you drop back 60 times, that tells me that you're not actually thinking about the best strategy to win the game. If you're thinking about developing Caleb, then so be it. Or let's just lose every game and get Caleb developed. But if you're trying to win that game, you don't go into it with that strategy, and you don't let that shit happen. Not to me.
The Bears being a better team, like you can compare the rosters on paper and say the Bears are a better team, guys. Other than Anthony Richardson, the Colts played a better football game. They did.
Exactly, but you don't think that that's coaching? You don't think that that's coaching?
I think that has a lot to do with everything. I think Jonathan Taylor's a much better player than DeAndre Swift. That's what I think that too as well. Like DeAndre Swift's not going to bust a 50-yard touchdown.
You're not saying anything outlandish here.
People like,
yeah.
I don't think that. I think to say the coaching staff is getting fired after 3 weeks is a little less like this panel. I don't think that's very. I don't think it's reflective
Brandon,
of
what
who
I'm
we
saying,
are.
what
I
I'm
really
saying is
don't.
Matt Eberflus shouldn't have been retained, and nothing he's done in the
But
first
he
3
is.
weeks.
So,
Well, no,
Exactly.
he is
Okay.
right
So,
now.
but we've seen this before. We've seen
Exactly.
this before. Sean, you said at the beginning, 37 games as head coach in the NFL, 26 losses,
Yes.
11 wins in his going into his fourth season now?
Yeah, dude, this guy's junk, dude.
What third
Third.
season? Okay,
Third.
sorry guys, but this is what we have. We have a guy who can't win in the division. We have a guy who can't win close games. We have a guy who lets his offensive coordinator drop his rookie. Brandon, you were just on here last week talking about how maybe we should start protecting our quarterback, our most valuable assets. And we all said the amount of times he dropped back in that Houston game was kind of ridiculous, given how much pressure they were getting on him. And then they come out this week and they drop him back more times.
Like 2 times.
How is that? Here, we've seen this happen, Brandon. Let me just say real
I
quick.
just
You
stay
keep saying this.
grounded. I'm not going to say fire the
Oh,
coach.
here,
after 3 weeks.
listen,
I don't do
listen,
that.
real quick.
Here,
Because
here's the
listen,
thing. I'm going to remain optimistic.
I'm not because we've seen this before, guys, with this Bears coaching staff. With this same head coach, we've seen it. With other head coaches, we've seen it. We know what this looks like. This ain't the first time I'm seeing what I'm seeing, guys. I'm not basing it off of 3 games. I'm basing it off of 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm basing it off of 3 years. not 3 games. He
not a
shouldn't have
good
been the head coach to start this season. He shouldn't have been the head coach in the first place.
Yeah,
He's
but
not
we all did a show where we said he deserved another shot. So
Who said that?
every person on this panel.
No, I never did.
It
Kyle,
was
have
said
I
in,
ever
it was
been in
said in
favor
the
of
chat.
keeping
It
this
was
guy?
said in the chat that Eberflus earned himself after finishing the way he did last season. He earned himself another year, and nobody on this panel disagreed with it.
Brendan, nobody wanted Matt Eberflus here.
I
We all agree on that.
never once in my life said I wanted Matt Eberflus retained for this job as head coach of my football team.
So you
Never
think it's
once. Well, you
so
find
you-
people where I said that.
we could find a way to justify why polls thought he should get another shot based on the way that season ended.
Not with the free agent coaching class. No, you can't. Not with the free agent coaching
But
class.
with the options that were out there, it wasn't even close. It wasn't
But
even close.
So we're ready to fire our coaching staff after week 3.
No,
I don't have faith in this coaching staff.
were
I
ready
want
to
to hear
fire.
somebody. I want to hear somebody say.
Hey, hold on.
Fire the
Hold
coaching
on.
staff
Do you have faith in Chris Morgan? Because he's done a great job over the
I don't
past 3
think-
years
I don't
developing
think Chris
offensive linemen.
Chris Morgan's irrelevant.
He's part of the coaching
He's
staff,
not a
dude.
play caller. He's not. He's irrelevant.
He's the run game coordinator.
It's like saying Mike Tomlin's assistant could be bad. Should we
Vernon,
fire
his
him?
job is to develop offensive linemen. He's not
Yeah,
irrelevant.
that's
They just drafted one. They just drafted one with a 3rd round pick.
They just played a quality football game.
They got another 1st round draft pick on their right tackle.
Hold on.
His job is to
trust-
develop these guys.
Trust
just
Chris
replaced-
Morgan.
They
to
just
develop
replaced.
Duran?
You just said they played a quality football game, Brandon. They gave up 4 sacks. They gave up 4 sacks.
Caleb took 2 of those, but
Oh,
they
okay,
just
well, no,
replaced-
but
they just replaced-
they were rushing 4 on all 4 of those sacks.
they just replaced.
It wasn't a blitz.
They just replaced one of the most expensive players on their roster.
And Jiggy, by the way, that's a big if. If Richardson could throw a 10-yard pass, the Bears got demolished. Well, Richardson did not look very good. He gave the ball three times. Gave away the ball 3 times again for his 3rd
And
week
if
in a
this
row.
Bears team
He's
had
not a
it
good
in
player.
them,
Richardson is not going to have a good season.
if this
Guys,
Bears team had it in them to finish a drive, the Bears should have been up by double digits going into that second half. They ran 50 plays in the first half, guys.
Yep.
You guys,
Scored
if the
no
Bears,
points.
if the Bears
No
just would
points.
have kicked field goals, if they just would have kicked field goals instead of going for it on 4th downs, if they would have kicked field goals, they would
Yeah,
have
that's
won that
another
game.
thing that's
They
driving
would've won
me
the game.
crazy too, man.
You're
I
putting
don't
you're
know.
going for it on
I'm-
4th down
I'm
with
I'm going to take. Well, I'm going to take like I always do. I'm always the villain here. I'm going to take the grounded. I'm not ready to fire the coaches after week 3.
Nobody
was
says
already-
you're the villain.
That's
You're
what I'm
making
saying.
yourself that by saying
No,
that.
I am. I
You're
like
never-
this role. I like this role. I'm the
Joe.
devil's advocate.
No,
Bernard,
like
so
it.
what is your response to this? Just tell me what your response to this
you're not
is.
going to martyr
You're
yourself
saying,
here
hold
on
on.
YouTube.
You're
Live
saying
with
you're
us.
not willing to fire the coaches after 3 games. But what do you say when we say we were willing to fire the coach week 8 last year? What is your response to that?
Well, he won like 5 out of 7 after you said that. So
But I mean, but
Ant Mass, what up, bro? Hit
in
that
a very
like button.
in an ugly way, right? Like the offense didn't look.
They
The
won,
Bears never
right?
looked like a football
okay, the
team.
Bears' offense was terrible, and Eberflus got wins. What point are you making here?
I mean,
I'm
Brendan,
not
at some
saying
point-
you guys. Eberflus is a good head. I'm not saying that he's like.
Brendan, do you think Matt Eberflus the way
The
he was winning last year, Brendan? Do you think that team could have gone to the playoffs and beat a really good team like the
Very
Packers or the
I think-
Eagles?
I think he had a terrible quarterback last year. That's just what I
Okay,
think.
but that quarter, but now
You been
here,
watching that quarterback?
listen, we got to talk about it because he's 3-0. He's got like a 95 passer rating, right? He's
I wish bring him back.
he's got 5 touchdowns.
Fire the coaches, cut
One
Taylor, bring
turnover.
Justin Fields back to this team.
No,
Let's bring
fire the
Justin
coach.
Fields back.
No, fire the coach and bring Mike Tomlin in.
There's a case to be
Let's
made
see how
that
Caleb Williams does that.
coaching does make a difference in the NFL, guys.
It
Mike
absolutely
Tomlin
does.
Was I not
is getting
streaming
the most
this
out of
last
Justin
week?
Fields.
There's also a case to be made, guys, that we're in week 3 of a season with like 30 new pieces on a 53-man roster.
Dude,
For
the
sure.
Steelers
You're
are in almost
very
the,
right, Brett.
That as well.
the
You're
Steelers
very
are in
right,
almost
but
the
I
same
don't-
position. The
The
Steelers
game,
have two receivers.
the game management by Flus is bad. The game they won in week 1 of this year was because of Matt Eberflus. That's just what it is. There's no,
No, the
other way
game
to
they
say
won
it.
this year was because Will Levis coughed up the game.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with coaching. So when they lose, when they win, it's got nothing to do with coaching. When they lose, it's all coaching.
No, listen,
did
man.
Will Levis not just fucking throw a ball that he shouldn't have thrown right to a defender?
That
I
was
mean,
the case
If
you
he
were
doesn't
making.
do
on
that,
the show.
the Bears lose that game.
Did we like not score without scoring on offense?
Here. Let's just say.
I'll
let's
tell you
just
this,
say-
Brandon. A better quarterback in week 1, the Bears are currently 0-3. That's in reality, my friend.
And let's just say that Matt Eberflus got out coached yesterday by Shane Steichen. He did. Shane Steichen outcoached Matt Eberflus, and I don't think Shane Steichen is that good of a coach, man.
The whole coaching staff got outcoached.
Shane
Waldron was outcoached. You guys love Shane Waldron. He's been outcoached every game this year.
I had very high hopes for Shane Waldron, but I don't like what
I
I'm
never
seeing,
said I
man.
love Shane Waldron. Go back and watch the cast.
You guys said that, well, at least Ryan Poles brought a good coaching staff around Flus with Eric Washington and Shane Waldron. They don't look good to me.
No.
I don't have any problem with Eric Washington.
Eric Washington's specialty is the defensive line, and we got the ball ran down our throat yesterday.
Vernon, the Bears are averaging 3 sacks a game.
Also,
they're averaging 3 sacks a game.
Stars are going to get theirs, guys.
Yeah, they're averaging 3 sacks a game, Vernon.
Yeah.
And Javon Dexter looks like the best player on the Bears.
Yeah, John Taylor ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. We're killing it.
And most of that came on 2 plays because they stuck with the run.
I was about to say that earlier. You take away those 2 plays, he had a bad game. Taylor
Listen, I'm not ready to blow this thing up after 3 weeks. You guys can do it. I'm not ready. I don't react.
Well, let's
that's not the thing. Here's the question, though, Brandon. Here's the question.
Let's move on.
No, it's not. This is
move on to what?
Let's keep going.
Here's the question, Brandon. Do you
dissecting the Bears game and not Matt Eberflus?
Well, Matt Eberflus is a big part of this Bears game, and in my mind, he's the biggest part of any Bears game going forward right now. He really is.
And in Brennan's mind, he's not. And we can talk about that.
If the Bears were to win the next 3 games, your story would change on who the biggest part of every game is.
No, it wouldn't, because like Kyle said, it depends on how it happens. Like if they would have won that game yesterday on that last drive, I'd still have a whole lot of problems with the way Matt Eberflus coached that game, bro. Absolutely. I'd still have a whole lot of problems.
What's your question?
My question is, do you see where someone would be coming from in evaluating that game yesterday and saying, I don't have faith in my head coach? Do you see it? Do you understand like where that could even come from? That concept, that crazy thought in a Bears fan's head.
Really quick, guys. I like Bruja right here. Great amount of curve because the defense was out there a lot.
No, they weren't.
Bunches.
No,
they did win the
25 minutes of time of possession.
Kyle, we were watching the game together. You even looked at me and said, dude, this defense just keeps getting run out there. They look exhausted.
No, they don't look exhausted. They look like they're like, what's the point? They're not going to score on offense. So why do we give a shit anymore? That's what they look. They look disinterested. They don't look like they're exhausted. They look
disinterested. The Colts were averaging 19 minutes time of possession going into this game. They had 25 in this game. That's not great still.
It's the lowest time of possession of any team in the NFL coming into this game.
Was that? They had the lowest by far. The lowest by far, yes.
Possession of any team coming into this game.
Let's break down some of that stuff here real quick since we're talking about it. Time of possession we talked about.
Kyle, thanks for joining us, guys. Keep the questions. We're going to get you guys rolling in here too. Thank you.
Time of possession for Bears, 35 minutes. Colts, 25. Yards for the Bears, 395 total yards. Colts, 306. Passing yards for Bears, 332. Colts, 156. Now, here's where we lost the game. Bears, 63 rushing yards. Colts, 150. We knew that was the key to the game going into it. First downs, guys, this is insane. Bears, 26. Colts, 15. 11 more first downs. Let's talk about plays. Total plays. Bears, 84. Colts, 54. 30 more plays they ran in that game than the Colts, guys. 30 more plays. They lost the game on turnovers. Caleb had 2 interceptions and the fumble, right, on the strip sack. The sacks allowed. The Colts only allowed 1. The Bears allowed 4. And here's the craziest thing about all of this, which will continue to make my point about why I don't have any faith in Matt Eberflus. Penalties. Colts had 9 for 78 yards. The Bears had 4 for 25 yards. How do you lose this game? Listen to those numbers and tell me how you lose this game. You drop your quarterback back 60 times and let him throw and increase his chances of making a mistake. That's how you lose this game.
The fact that the penalties have come down each week.
Formula in this game, and they lost the equation.
I mean, I will agree with Brandon. I mean, it's nice to see the penalties come down. Obviously, they addressed something in practice because there are penalties this week compared to last week.
They didn't address who calls whether or not we're going for an extra point or a 2-point conversion. That wasn't addressed in practice.
The most disappointing part to me for the coaching staff, again, was the time management. I mean, once again, you end up with 1 timeout on with trying to stop the Colts from getting a first down. And hold on. I would have kicked the onside kick. And, people are like, oh, this onside kicks now are impossible because you have to inform the other team. Well, guess what? The Cowboys did it literally right before the Bears. Was it before or after? The Cowboys got an onside kick yesterday. Yeah, the Cowboys got an onside kick yesterday, guys. It's not impossible because
I could go either way on that for them kicking it deep.
Usually I would, Dustin. Here's the problem.
Because of the 2-minute warning. Because they had the 2-minute warning.
Well, here's the problem. This is why I don't agree with it yesterday. I think they should go for the onside kick. Because if you go look at the last 2 drives the Indianapolis Colts had before the Bears kicked the ball back to them, the Bears could not stop the run. They did it for the entirety of the game until the last 2 or 3 drives. They could not stop the run. So what made you think you were going to get onto the field and all of a sudden just stop? You knew that the Colts were going to go out there and run the ball. You knew that. You couldn't stop it for the last 2 drives. What made you think you were going to stop it this time? It wasn't going to happen. So you better just put the ball back in your offense's hand because the Colts defense could not stop Caleb Williams for the whole 4th quarter. It's except for that strip sack. They did nothing to stop him. Nothing.
Well, you also got to think about putting them close to a field goal. There, if they get that onside kick and then you do stop them potentially with time, like they were thinking about the field position. I could understand that to an extent, but I get what you're saying. Either you're going to go for it or you're not. Like you got to get the ball back in your offense.
Too, you have to take points when you have the opportunity to get points, and
especially with an offense like this that's struggling to find their way. If you can get a field goal, kick a field goal. Especially when the Bears know pretty much every game they play this year is going to end up being a close game, and it's going to be a 1-possession game. So they kick the field goals, guys. Kick the field goals.
That defense will come up with a pick.
You guys, when this was Jay Cutler on the Bears for 5 years, and he had Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Forte, I was like, don't kick the field goal. Go. You've been running the ball. You've been getting points on this. You've been moving the ball all game. Go for the 4th inches. This team that struggles to move the ball forward for consecutive plays in a row, kick the field goal. Kick the field
especially
goal.
With the defense that you have, the defense that has shown that it can.
And you're giving your offense some confidence. Like, hey, at least we scored points. We scored points.
Brandon's got something on his mind. I see it brewing. What you got, Brando?
No, I was honestly just listening. I don't know if are you guys talking about kicking the field goal on 4th and inches? Because I disagree with that.
No, yeah, they should have went for it there. They should have. They had to go for it.
They should have gave the fucking ball to Roshan Johnson.
You're talking about the defense the Bears have. If you have a defense, you go for it on 4th and inches on the goal line because then you put your defense.
Not if you're going to lose 12 yards. That's the problem there.
Then you put your defense on the field, and the Colts should be in their own end zone.
But they're on the 13-yard line instead.
Another problem with this team is the fact that Ryan Post decided to extend a kicker who is incapable of making kicks above 55 yards, which every other kicker in the NFL is now capable of doing, excluding the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, but he made the second one with like 8 yards to spare.
I don't want to knock on Santos, man. That dude's been.
You guys, this is an NFL
he's got a weak leg for the NFL. That's
you guys. This is an NFL where people are kicking 50-yard field goals on a daily basis. It's part of the game now, guys.
He made the 54-yarder by like 8 yards.
Yes, dude.
So, I don't know.
And he missed the other one by like 3 yards.
Well, and he couldn't kick it out of the end zone on that last.
And he couldn't kick out of the end zone when the Bears are lucky. There's another reason the Bears should have done the onside kick. You guys know we would have lost the 2-minute warning. You guys know we would have lost the 2-minute warning if he just runs that ball out, right?
Yeah,
if he doesn't need the ball in the end zone, he runs that. We lose the 2-minute warning.
Moved back.
That's
the ball out of the end
for sure.
zone.
But that's an what Kyle was just talking about is an example of how bad of a coach Shane Steichen is, that they couldn't get their guys lined up correctly on that kick return, and they couldn't inform them that no matter what, we're running this out of the end zone if we have a chance to, so we can get rid of that.
Use the 2-minute warning.
How do you not get that across to your team? This was just an exhibition and bad coaching on both sides, guys. And it was like South Park when they're in the Little League World Series. Like, who's trying to fucking lose this game the most? It's like we're playing to lose. I'm not. Again, I got nothing good to say about this coaching staff, man. I got no good feelings about this. This team is not a playoff team the way that they're performing right now and the way that they're being prepared. And this team should be a playoff team. It should be in contention for that with the talent that they have. It should. But they overlooked the offensive line, and they're not adjusting for it now in the season. It's a problem.
Well, gentlemen, this leads me to my next question here, because we have some of the worst defenses coming up, which we just played one and failed miserably, but we still have Carolina, we still have the Rams, and we still have Washington coming up. From what you saw in the second half of this game, do you feel like the Bears are going to be, after these next 3, they can run off a win against Los Angeles, Carolina, Jacksonville, Washington? Or you're not – Dustin, I think Dustin's like maybe 2-2 in there. I think in the stretch, I'm going to say 3-1.
You guys think they go 0-4?
I'm going to say 3-1, and they should be 3-1. They shouldn't have lost yesterday. They should have had this 5-game stretch no worse than 3-2.
We talked about this. We talked about this on the bare minimum before the game. Me and Brandon. When you go 2-1, your playoff chances are in 55%. When you go to 1-2, they drop down to 34%. The Bears just lost, 20-some% of their playoff chances in that game that they should have won, guys.
But guys, really quick, I do want to just make a comment real quick, and we don't even have to talk about it. But two things. Before that game, the ref crew that was on the field that game called more penalties against the away team than the other reffing crew, and obviously that didn't turn into fruition. But I didn't like that when they said that. That secondly, 80% of teams at home who have started 0-2 and have their back against the wall and cannot go 0-3. 80% of teams win those games. I know the Colts suck, but that was a tall task for the Bears to go into Indy. This team knowing if they lose one more game, their season pretty much probably will be over, and the Bears have to go in there and beat them. That's a tall task. But I will say this as well, you guys, and I don't want to get into we'll talk about this later in the week, but it doesn't get easier against Kyron Williams and Matthew Stafford. I mean, because those guys make better decisions.
Matthew Stafford was amazing yesterday in the second half.
Absolutely phenomenal. And you know what? Matthew Stafford needs to be talked about as probably the most underrated quarterback in the history of the NFL.
I really quick, I'm with Bruja. Absolutely amazing. I've changed from 10-7 to 8-9 myself, I believe, at this moment.
That was your question then over this next stretch of games. We got the Rams. We got the Panthers.
Rams, Panthers, Jacksonville,
Washington.
And then Arizona. Oof.
Okay, so in the next 5 games, we just listed off those opponents. Kyle, where do you see the Bears falling record-wise? They're 1-2 right now. Where do you see them falling after those next 5 games that we just listed here that we thought were kind of winnable games going into this season?
I mean, honestly, guys, I know this sounds crazy because I was the one who said they were going to be 6-4 in the first 10 games before the season started, while everybody else was saying 9-1, 8-2, all that crazy madness. But rookie quarterback, obviously. But just with the way that Rome Odunze looked yesterday, the way that Caleb Williams looked yesterday, the way that in the second half, the Bears were able to move the ball well, the way that they've started to protect Caleb a little bit better. It's getting a little bit better every game. It's still not great. And obviously, you guys, like we talked about this, there's no in-season fix to fix this offensive line. It's not just going to get better with the snap of a finger. But I honestly do believe if the Bears can limit their mistakes, especially the turnovers for Caleb Williams. No disrespect to Caleb Williams because I love him and I think he's
limit the dropbacks. Then limit the dropbacks if you want to limit the turnovers.
So balance a little bit more balance with this team. If they can make those adjustments, and that's a big if, especially since we just talked about this coaching staff. But if they limit those adjustments, if they can make those adjustments and limit Caleb Williams stepping back 60 times a game, I honestly do believe the Bears can come out of the first 10 games of the season 5-5. I really do.
Where are you
that's
at?
A very strong possibility.
Over the next 5 games?
Yeah.
Los Angeles, Carolina, Jacksonville, Washington, Arizona.
4-1.
4-1.
Because the Bears game yesterday ended the way that I've been waiting and expecting. Caleb Williams is going to start lighting teams on fire. My Caleb Williams faith has not moved any way, shape, or form. It's the guy I've waited for since 2021 in December when I sent the text. He's here. I don't care about this guy is about to start showing the world why he was not only the first overall pick, but a generational talent. Because for anyone who thinks he isn't, because they don't like the way the coaching staff's calling the game, here's a news flash. He's still him. And we saw it in the second half of yesterday's game. When he's comfortable, he is terrifying. The Colts secondary looked lost.
But they won the game. So
I'm going to say this too, though, real quick. I want to talk. We keep saying like Rome had a great football game, guys, but I want to talk about this real quick. When a quarterback misses a throw, he's usually a few yards off. Doesn't matter what quarterback. Could be Daniel Jones. Could be Tom Brady. That's a miss. Like the receiver's hand is outstretched and you miss by 3 yards. You know what I mean? That's a miss. When Caleb's missing deep throws by 15 yards, Rome Odunze is doing the wrong thing. Just want to say that he's good. But there's some major issues here with
it's
Rome
a combination of both, Brandon. And look,
stopped in a zone. He stopped.
Yeah, that was bad. I've
never seen that happen before in my life.
And I think he needs to flatten out some of his angles a little
more.
I
love you, man, and we all have our opinions, man. But you're going into a podcast the day after the Bears where Rome Odunze had 6 catches for 100-something yards and a touchdown. And you're like Rome Odunze, blah blah blah, and the coaches looked like absolute. They didn't even know they were playing a football game, and you're defending them. This is very strange.
Let me say this for perspective. Yesterday, Caleb threw the ball an awful lot. We all know that. So obviously you're going to accumulate yards if you're any good. Andy Dalton threw for over 300 yards yesterday, guys. Andy fucking Dalton threw for over 300 yards yesterday. Caleb was 7 of 17 for 181 yards and an interception on passes over 10 yards. 7 of 17, 181 yards and an interception. He had 11 off-target throws yesterday. Now, whether that's a combination of the receivers, they're clearly not on the same page in terms of DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams. They're not getting there yet. I think the guy who's the most on the same page with Caleb so far is DeAndre Carter. Honestly, DeAndre Carter is impressing the shit out of me. I love this little guy. He's awesome.
Is exactly where he's supposed to be.
Well, I hope when Keenan Allen comes back, DeAndre Carter's role is cut. Missing Keenan Allen is a big.
Let me answer the last question first because Brandon kind of sidetracked us with his Roma Dunze tangent, and
I want to get to a couple of these comments too. So
okay, we will. But here, I don't know that the Bears are gonna. After that game I just watched, there's no way I'm picking the Bears to beat the Rams this Sunday, guys. There's no way. That's too well coached of a team. Sean McVay is going to run circles around Matt Eberflus, and they still got Matt Stafford at their quarterback position, guys. I don't care if it's in Chicago. I'm not picking this Bears team to beat the Rams. Carolina, that's a win. That's a win. Jacksonville in London, that's a toss-up to me right now, but I have a tough time picking the Bears. And Arizona, that's in Arizona, right?
It's in Arizona.
That's the game Kyle argued as a win, and you said for sure, or Kyle argued as a loss, and you said during our season predictions for sure a win.
I'm aware. But I'm not
just
seeing.
You guys know how much your opinions have changed after 3 weeks. It's actually mind blowing. It really
Not mine. I said 6-4 coming out of the first 10, but I just said they're 5-5. I've changed one game.
I think when
I've changed one game.
When you see what you saw yesterday, Brandon, this is not what I expected to see before the season started. It's just not.
No, but I agree with both of you. I agree with both of you.
And Arizona has looked a lot better to start this season. They only lost by 6 to Buffalo. They lost by 7 to Detroit, and they got the win against the Rams. They've played well. They've played a lot better than the Bears this Rams. That's why they're futures. That's why you're looking forward on that. Because right now, what I see is shit from the Bears, bro, and it's a lot better from the Cardinals. 0-5. I mean, if they go 3-2 in that, I'll be super happy and amazed. But I could see it being 2-3 in that stretch of games.
Sean, can you go back to that comment?
I'm trying. I want to go back to a few of the comments here.
Yeah, go back to the one where he's talking about. I don't want to be a whiny little Bears fan, but that might be the best comment of the day because I'd like to talk about that as well.
Whiny little Bears.
Right there.
Here it is. Here's right here. This might be my favorite comment of the day because this should have been addressed on the show.
This is what I was going to get to next here.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a game-changing moment right there. Yeah. That was an interception by Andrew Billings that gave the Bears possession. This guy was pushing forward, still moving.
He was moving.
It was
not forward progress.
Call it consistently because
it shouldn't have been ruled forward. It should have been ruled forward progress on the touchdown run.
Yeah, John Taylor's touchdown was
by Sermon. Yeah, I agree with you guys. That's what I wanted to talk about. This is a product of being at home. This is what I'm talking about with being at home. It's tough to go on the road and win games because of this shit right here. So they called forward progress on this play that nullified an interception by Andrew Billings. He was clearly still moving. He hadn't even been held that long. He wasn't even being contacted. Maybe a second and a half. And they stopped the play and said the forward progress has been called. But then you go look at the other side of the field. Trey Sermon's being held up for what? 6, 7, 8 seconds?
Yeah.
They decided to let him run to the end zone. Now, I'm okay with the latter.
He didn't even run. He got pushed.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because, guys, that happens all the time. And it's happened to the Bears as well, where a Bears running back gets in the pile and the offensive line comes and pushes him to the end zone. But the stopping the forward progress on the play with Anthony Richardson where he threw that pick to Andrew Billings, that is not acceptable. And that's because they were at home. If that play was done, if that game was in Chicago, that same exact play is an interception by Andrew Billings, 100%. That changes.
It should have been both called the same way. Either way,
I agree, Justin. That's what gives me hope with the Bears playing at home against the Rams. Those types of plays should go the Bears' way. So as long as the Bears can improve a little bit every week and look like a better football team, those types of plays can change the game for them. Andrew Billings should have an interception, and that would have been soul crushing to the Colts. Soul crushing. I think that wasn't that pick by Andrew Billings. Wasn't it like the 15-yard line?
Yeah,
that was in field goal range.
That's already a field goal. Yeah. I mean that changed the game completely. I'm sorry. I agree. I don't want to sound like a whiny Bears fan, but that you're not whining.
Hey,
That
Kyle,
was blatantly
I was
pathetic.
whining when it happened.
That was
Blatantly pathetic.
bullshit. That was
Blatantly
straight up
pathetic.
bullshit.
Awful call.
Sean, what do you have the Bears at in the next 5 games?
I'm gonna take the Bears at 3-2. I'm gonna take them at 3-2. I was thinking about.
Dustin said something to change Sean's mind.
No, I was listen. I was thinking about 4-1, but I'm also thinking about this coaching staff and how this coaching staff walks themselves into losses instead of wins. And I have a feeling they'll do that in these next couple of games.
Thank you, Bruja.
I think Keenan Allen comes back and quarterback is king.
Thank you, Brew.
Quarterback is king in this league. You get a Tom Brady, you get a Patrick Mahomes. I still believe everybody else doesn't. I'm not talking about you guys. The world does not. I still believe we have that guy, and that
we do. We
well,
do have that guy. I'm just worried about what this coaching staff is going to do with him.
Vernon, you didn't hear me earlier. I agreed with you, Vernon. And the reason I say that the Bears are still capable of going 5-5, even as bad as they've looked the last couple of weeks, because I think that Caleb Williams is the type of quarterback he will start to win in spite of the coaching staff. Kind of like the Cubs did in Game 7 of the World Series. No matter how bad Joe Madden, what terrible decision he made, the Cubs still won that game. I think eventually this team will start to grow together, especially when Keenan Allen gets back, because I think he's huge for Caleb on third down. Huge. I think that's huge for Caleb Williams when Keenan Allen's back on the field. And you know what? To be honest with you guys, the first week, it looked like Caleb Williams was most comfortable with Keenan Allen. Those little outs they were throwing, and even the touchdown.
He had 11 targets in that first game. DJ Moore had 8.
I think that Keenan Allen makes a huge difference for this team. Unfortunately, we have no idea when he's going to be back. This is the same heel injury that bothered Keenan, ended his season last year, so that's obviously not
same heel he had surgery on. Scary.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. But I do think I agree with Brennan. I think at some point when Caleb Williams starts to get more comfortable and it starts to figure this game out, starts to figure out how to change
all three.
The cadence, so on and so forth. He's gonna start to look like an NFL quarterback every week, regardless of how bad this coaching staff sucks. And you know what? It's unfortunate because it might actually save their jobs, and I don't think it should. But I think Caleb Williams is going to be scheme proof eventually. Yes, I agree.
We talked about the 100%. 3 receivers being on the field. It's going to play itself out. When these 3 guys are on the field, they won't be defendable. I'm telling you that right now.
It doesn't matter though if the offensive line can't protect the quarterback. If
I don't think Allen's going to be on the field. I'm just being honest.
I hope he is, and I think he will be. But if you can have all the weapons in the world on the outside, Sean, you just said it today, building from the outside and going in versus building from the inside and going. And Brandon, you've said this many times too. That's not the way to do it. And we cannot deny that this offensive line is it looks like the worst pass protecting unit in the league. So if you can't get time to get the ball to those weapons, then what good are they? What good are they? That's my concern.
I also don't believe it's out of the realm of possibility that this offensive line gets a little bit better still, because they were better last year. So
they'll get better if the Bears coaching staff adjusts their game plan and helps them get better. That's where they'll get better, bro.
You guys, I hate to see it. I'm not. I have not been a big fan of Shane Waldron, but he made adjustments in that game.
That was a product of the defensive coordinator scheme.
Their offense looked better in the second half than it did.
Product of replacing a player that gives 0 effort. Nate Davis is
they didn't do that because they wanted to, Brandon. They did that because they had to.
Nate Davis is injury on this football team. I have been telling all 3 of you for 2 years, this guy sucks. His effort sucks. His attitude sucks. His mentality sucks. He should have been cut from this football team. I don't care about the money. He sucked.
The Bears didn't bench him.
You're talking about Tevin Jenkins playing worse. Is it possible that Nate Davis's attitude?
Dude, Dustin, he was benched.
This team at all? Coleman Shelton called his coaches out.
They held him out with the injury designation.
He came in the game. He played in the game. He was benched
him as a backup because of his injury.
For a drive. Tevin Jenkins,
they can say whatever they want, guys. He was benched.
Preston Jones came right back into that game. Here's the problem with a player like Nate Davis. You want to talk about Tevin Jenkins' attitude difference? And it's not just on the field, guys. Tevin Jenkins was when asked, Coleman Shelton and Tevin Jenkins were both asked what's wrong in protection. You know what Tevin Jenkins said? We're executing. The play call's bad. No, you're not. You're not. That's horseshit. You're not executing anything. And you know what? That's a Nate Davis mentality. I don't need to show up to practice. I don't need to do my fucking job. Pay me money and shut the hell up. That's what these guys, that's the mentality these guys have taken on. We're good and you suck.
If Nate Davis's mentality affects Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright, then we got all the wrong guys.
Yeah, when you see a guy showing no effort and still getting paid more than you, it might affect you a little bit. Just a little tap.
It fucking better not. No, not when your job is to protect the quarterback, man.
The
And
$30
you
million
can make money
man
yourself.
who doesn't show up to practice still starts every week.
Listen, you just said you told all three of us, Brandon. I've been saying Nate Davis is trash from the beginning before he played a snap for the Bears.
He shouldn't be on the team. He's a cancer.
But they're stuck with him because of the cap. They're stuck with him because
I do agree that
tell him to go away. But
I do agree with Vernon though that if there's a guy not showing up to practice and not putting in the effort, he's still getting the start every Sunday. If I were the rest of the offensive line, I mean, you guys have seen it at your job. You guys have seen it at your job. Like if somebody else shows up to your job and they're going to pay the same amount as you and they're not doing shit and you're working your ass off, eventually you're going to be like, well, I'm just going to start not doing shit and see how that works out for me. Because it's working out well for him. So let's see how it works out for me. I do agree.
How about this?
No, I'm not that person, bro. There's no way if I see somebody else slacking and getting away with it that I'm just gonna slack because I can.
I'm not saying you are, but there are people out there who do.
Okay, but I'm saying if those are those people on our offensive line, we got the wrong guys on our offensive line.
Maybe the $30 million man who doesn't show up to practice is still a starter on your team. And then you tell Tevin Jenkins, who played his ass off for you last year, we'll talk about it in the bye week. Yes, that might have an effect over his attitude. I firmly believe
that's a good point.
That's
a very good point.
And I'm saying if that does have an effect on his attitude, then he's a soft dude. That's what
I'm with Dustin on this one, just because of what I talked about earlier. This guy has to be able to stay on the field. He misses 6 games every year. This isn't a guy that you're going to offer a huge contract. For a 4th year in a row, he misses 6 games.
These aren't players. They're businessmen.
That's
the way
business.
It's a fucking business. That's how it works now.
But then Tevin Jenkins should understand the business aspect of it.
Exactly.
If he knows it's a business, he should understand. Like if you're not available for half your shifts at work, bro, your work ain't gonna give you a promotion. You got to show up every day.
Hey, Scott Angel, Nate Davis is cancer. Zach Lipsy, Nate Davis is garbage, and
we're not disagreeing with you on that.
We're not
saying is if that's spreading, then we got the wrong guys. We got the wrong guys with the wrong mentality.
The biggest problem on this football team, as soon as they pulled him out of the lineup, the Bears looked better because that's
Pryor looked solid. He didn't look.
You know what he looked like? Pryor looked like he cared. That's what he looked like. He looked like
sure.
He didn't want to allow a sack.
He held up a lot.
What did I say last week? It's time for the players that give the effort and show up to practice and play to start playing instead of the players that have the big contract.
And you saw Matt Pryor and Roschon Johnson.
That's exactly what they did, and I'm very happy for that.
I think this team is okay, guys. I'm not freaking out after 3 weeks.
It seems like you're freaking out.
Here, really quick, we're gonna flip the subject because I want to ask you guys a couple things. But I'm gonna take the Bears beating the Rams to beating Carolina, losing to Arizona, losing to Jacksonville, but then beating Washington. I understand Doug Peterson might be his worst coach, but
no, bro, you don't understand. If you kept the Bears losing to Jacksonville, you don't understand. That is the worst football team in the league right now.
Watch Jacksonville win tonight, though.
I think Jacksonville just scored a touchdown. James Cook just scored a touchdown, big touchdown.
He doesn't play for Jacksonville.
Jacksonville James Cook just had some kind of. I can't see how big it is. He's slapping hands. I just saw.
What was the subject you wanted to change there, man?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, this who was this up here? One of our distinguished guests asked about Tyler Scott, and I've been holding this.
I got it right here. I'd like to see Tyler Scott in a few go routes.
Let me ask you guys this, because you just said you love DeAndre Carter. They do different things. Here's another draft pick for Ryan Poles. It's not being utilized in the offense. Came here with high expectations.
Does it imply he's doing something wrong?
I have no idea. Do you even hear Tyler Scott's name? Was he a healthy scratch?
Well, Kyle made this point a couple weeks ago with DeAndre Carter. Like Tyler Scott was the guy, and then DeAndre Carter just when games started, DeAndre Carter was just out there, and Tyler Scott was not. So, there has to be something they're seeing in practice.
It's another failed pick by Ryan Poles.
I've been really high on Tyler Scott since he was at Cincinnati, and I think he has to offer this offense with his skill set that nobody else can.
Sean, you go look at 5th-round picks around the league. I mean,
Tyreek Hill was one.
Okay, but that's a very, very, very one
Terrell
person.
Davis was one.
Just said, okay.
Antonio Brown was one.
When you're talking about guys who are retired, you know why you're talking about guys who are retired? Because there's not that many in the NFL right now.
You don't know what you have unless you get them out on the damn field. Let him
Sean,
play. Is he practicing shitty?
Sean, but what I'm saying is Ryan Poles watching the tape at Cincinnati and saying, "Oh, he looks like a good player," and him getting here and not being able to learn the offense or something. That's not like, "Oh, Ryan Poles, you suck. That was a terrible pick. You're all full of garbage." Fifth-round picks
aren't contributing on the field.
They start to add up when you talk about Velus Jones, when you talk about Tyler Scott, right?
Velus Jones is a different story. That's a third-round pick. Fifth-round picks are 50-50 shots, guys. Ask any GM in the NFL. It's a 50-50 shot. You know why? You know why it's a 50-50 shot? That's why he fell to the fifth round, because he wasn't guaranteed. That's what fifth-round picks are, guys.
Wait. What are we talking about, though? Tyler Scott is a good football player. He hasn't played.
I think he is.
Obviously, the coaching staff doesn't agree.
I'm just asking. My question was, why is Tyler Scott getting no love, getting no action, and DeAndre Carter?
We don't have that answer. We don't have that answer, Sean.
Yeah, and you guys, if we have that conversation on this podcast right now, that is all speculation. It's all speculation. It could be Shane Waldron not liking him. It could be he has some injury we don't know about. It could be the fact that he's a little slow in between the years and he can't pick up the offense. There's a billion different things you could talk about.
This goes back to accountability, because Kyle, you were there. I was watching the draft with you. What the hell did I say when they picked Velus Jones? What did I fucking say?
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said that's a terrible.
What did you say?
I've ever fucking seen in my life.
What did you say when they picked Tyler Scott?
So that was a good pick.
As a fifth-round pick, I actually watched him at Cincinnati.
A number one receiver on an undefeated college team.
Yeah, I thought it was a good pick.
Here, he drafted Roschon, guys, and Roschon is just barely starting to get involved in this offense.
So what is this telling me? And I just asked you guys earlier. You trust this guy when his draft picks are not working out to now rebuild our offensive line through the draft?
Well, I mean,
I'm starting to have a lot of questions.
You guys get so offensive. I mean, I just think that's a very open-ended statement. His draft picks aren't working out. He also drafted Kyler Gordon. He drafted Jaquan Brisker. He drafted Javon Dexter. All these guys you love so much. Darnell Wright. Yeah, he drafted Caleb Williams. He drafted Roma Dunze. He drafted the Quran we know nothing about. Everybody loves this punter. People think he's the best punter in the sliced bread.
That were tops in their class.
What I'm saying is, Sean, is every GM misses on draft picks. That's what I'm saying. The 49ers, who are the most successful team in the NFC over the last 10 years, traded up and drafted Trey Lance at number 3.
What are we even talking about?
Okay,
Ryan Poles got Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and DJ Moore for Bryce Young. Ryan Poles is one of the most historical GMs in football.
Ryan Poles is also young.
You can't say this. How is the roster doing? It is not built. We're supposed to be competing this year. Are we competing? No, we're not. We're not.
After 3 games, we're done. After 3 games, we're dead in the water, guys. We're done. Season's over. Wrap it up. Let's just retire.
He also the re-signing of Jalen Johnson. The re-signing of Jalen Johnson was super smart.
Okay.
That was a great deal.
How about not re-signing David Montgomery?
I thought not re-signing Roquan Smith was a major issue too.
It's not mistakes.
I think you broke your microphone, Sean.
This is one of the best guards in football right now.
No, Sean, your mic's not working.
I think you broke your microphone.
I'm going to say this. The only issue you should have with Ryan Poles is keeping Matt Eberflus, because you cannot blame
Ryan
Poles
for
anything else. Because if you think Matt Eberflus sucks, if you have no faith in Matt Eberflus, that is the only decision Ryan Poles made.
What I'm saying is,
because he did put a good team in place,
what I'm saying is take a step
back. Your view is he put a good team.
Sean, we can hear you. You're good. But if you guys just let me talk for a second, what I'm saying is there's a happy median. You guys are talking about a very young GM. I think he was hired when he was 34 years old. He was actually younger than us when he was hired to be the GM of the Chicago Bears. What I'm saying is I think there's a happy median. I think Ryan Poles is a young GM who's going to struggle. He's going to make mistakes, and he's done that. But for the most part, if you take his positives and his negatives, I'd say he still has built a pretty good team in Chicago here. These are just things that he did wrong. And you know what? He's going to learn. Well, the longer he's there, the more he's going to learn. You guys, Chase Claypool wasn't good. Chase Claypool wasn't good. Retaining Matt Eberflus wasn't good. Signing PJ Walker a $4 million deal, knowing you were going to cut him 2 months later because you were going to draft Tyson Bagent, was not a good decision. I mean, guys, there's a ton of them. But you could also look on the flip side and say Jalen Johnson's one of the best contracts in the NFL. Cole Kmet's one of the best contracts in the NFL. I mean,
DJ Moore is one of the best contracts.
Andrew Billings is the best contract in the NFL. If you're talking about in terms of productivity, in terms of how much he's worth. I mean,
he's done some good things, but
Yes.
the biggest thing is what Brandon said and what you just mentioned. So if you're talking about a negative thing, retaining Matt Eberflus to coach this team might be the one that comes back and bites him in the ass, bro.
No, that is not the biggest one, Dustin. That is not the biggest one. The biggest one is not retaining Matt Eberflus. The biggest decision
it's still affecting us now.
If you guys think for a second that the biggest decision he's made since joining the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles, was not trading Justin Fields and drafting Caleb Williams, which some other GMs would have retained Justin Williams or Justin Fields and not drafting Caleb Williams.
Negatives, Kyle.
That is the biggest decision he's made for this team.
The biggest negative.
Okay, that's fine, but
that's what I was saying.
But I said negatives versus positives, and drafting Caleb Williams is a bigger positive than retaining Matt Eberflus because you can still change your fucking coach. You can't go back and draft Caleb Williams again, guys.
You can also get your quarterback killed before then too. So
that's not going to happen. I think we all agree that that's not going to happen, right? Who here thinks that because Caleb Williams got drafted to the Bears and this 1 year under Matt Eberflus, he's going to have a terrible career because they're going to screw up his development? Raise your hand.
Who thought it was going to happen to David Carr?
I don't understand. You guys, here's the problem with me.
You guys act like this shit don't happen in the NFL all the time. Who thought it was going to happen to Justin Fields?
But here's the problem. See, when we were predicting the Bears schedule, you guys were saying 8-2, 7-3, but now you guys are like, well, I knew Matt Eberflus sucked. I knew the offensive line sucked. I knew that guy sucked. I knew this guy sucked. Well, then why the fuck did you pick them to be 7-3 or 8-2 the first 10 games of the season?
Because their schedule is super easy.
Not only that, but I was the one telling you guys, the Cardinals are going to be a trap game. Watch out for that team. They're going to be good. Kyler Murray's good when he's healthy. They're adding Marvin Harrison Jr. The team's getting Trey McBride's getting better. And people were like, what are you talking about? There's no trap game for you. Caleb Williams.
The Colts were favored.
The Colts were favored, and we lost a game in which we actually dominated.
You guys, the Bears are doing exactly what I projected them to do. They have a rookie quarterback struggling. They have a new offensive coordinator who doesn't know his offensive personnel.
Should we have lost that game yesterday? Should the Bears not be 2-1 right now?
Are you talking about in terms of
should the Bears
execution
not be 2-1 right now?
Yes, of course. In terms of execution,
the Bears should be 0-3.
The
Bears should be 0-3. The Bears should be 0-3. Right now, this team should be 0-3. They should not have won week 1 against the Titans. Not a chance in hell should they won that game.
I just said that. I was wrong. So
100% the Bears should be an 0-3 football team. They're lucky.
Okay, so the Bears ran 30 more plays than the Colts yesterday, but should have lost.
The Bears didn't execute when it was important. 4th and inches, 3rd and inches. Execute.
So do good teams that have those stats win games?
But can those things be fixed, Dustin? Can those things be fixed? Can not running the ball on 3rd and inches and 4th be fixed?
I don't know that answer to that question right now.
Can Bryce Young be fixed?
I don't know about that. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
You can't say never because people thought Geno.
What I'm saying is the Bears are still in good.
People thought Baker Mayfield was.
The Bears are still, as long as Caleb Williams is here for the next 10 years, they are still in the best position they could be in. Besides retaining, if they would not retain Matt Eberflus, if they would have hired Jim Harbaugh and had Caleb Williams, that is the best case scenario. At least in this position they're in, Caleb Williams is still going to be here for 10 years. You could still fire Matt Eberflus, and you could still hire a new coach and still develop your quarterback. They're all possible.
Kyle, can I ask you this? Wouldn't it have been a genius move if they actually went and got Clint Kubiak instead of Shane Waldron?
Yes, or anybody else.
Probably right now
insert name here. It doesn't matter. You could have gotten anybody besides.
We didn't even interview Bobby Slowick, but he's going to be a head coach, not another offensive coordinator.
He might be our head coach.
You know what? Another thing I will say about the grass is you can still see the forest through the trees, guys. At the end of this year, the head coaching class is going to be amazing again. Ben Johnson's going to come out. Kubiak's. I mean, all these guys are going to be head coaches.
For sure. That's all well and good, and I hear you, but I don't want a year of wasted time on Caleb Williams.
It sucks. It sucks.
That's what
I agree with you, Dustin. It sucks to know that this team is capable of more, and they're not reaching their potential. They're not hitting their ceiling.
That's what frustrates me.
But at the same time, you have a rookie quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, new players. Roma dudes. You should have expected there was going to be hiccups in the season, and we're seeing them right now.
Caleb didn't play good enough to beat the Texans. Let's be honest, he didn't.
He didn't.
No, and he didn't play good enough to beat the Colts.
He played good enough to beat the Colts.
Could have played well enough to beat the Texans.
No, he didn't.
Played good enough to beat the Colts.
He did not play good enough to beat the Colts. You cannot win. You cannot turn the ball. If you can name me one coach in the NFL, Brennan, that you walk up to and you say, "Hey, if you turn the ball over three times on Sunday, I don't give a shit what the other team does. If you turn the ball over 3 times on Sunday, do you think you have a good chance of winning this game?" Not one coach in the NFL is going to respond, "Yeah, we'll make up for those mistakes." Caleb Williams is a big part of why the Bears lost the game on Sunday, and that's going to change. That's what I'm saying.
So hold on, because we just talked about firing our entire coaching staff. Now you're telling me the quarterback didn't play well enough to win. So who's responsible for the loss?
No.
Everybody.
The fact that he dropped back and threw the ball that many times is the biggest issue to me.
Yes.
You can't put him in the position to.
The Bears put him in a position. The Bears put him in a position to lose that game, and he lost the game. Both of them.
Matt Eberflus.
Both of them. They all are. You put him in a position to lose the game, and he lost the game.
Caleb performed his ass off in spite of this coaching staff.
Yes, he did. He just had 3 big mistakes that lost the game. Besides those
mistakes, which he was bound to make with what they were asking him to do.
I just said they put him in a position to lose the game. He did that. That's what he did.
The worst throw Caleb's made as a pro.
It was.
100%. The first interception was
nothing to do with dropping back 50
No, it
times.
does. It does because that's
a bad throw.
No, you play the odds, Brandon. You play the odds. If you drop back more and throw the ball more, you have a higher odds of throwing an interception.
Well, let me ask you guys
this.
To
happen.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think that Caleb Williams
is going to throw an interception? Do
you guys think that Caleb Williams is good enough? Is going to be good enough?
Caleb Williams is good enough to do anything.
Hold on, Brennan.
You're putting words in our mouth, and you're fucking wrong.
Do you guys think Caleb Williams is good enough to overcome these coaching deficiencies and make this Bears team competitive at some point during the season? Do you believe that in your heart of hearts? Not as a Bears fan, as somebody who analyzes football, do you think Caleb Williams can overcome these coaching deficiencies and become a good player?
I do, because I saw it in the second half.
Then they're going to win games. Then they're going to win games. If you think that's possible, they're going to win football games, guys. The most important player in American sports is the quarterback.
Do you think Shane Waldron's play calling had anything to do with 362 yards and 2 touchdowns?
Yes, he gets credit for the good and the bad, like you said earlier, Brendan. He gets credit for both.
If you throw it 52 times, you better have 300 plus yards throwing, bro. Come on, what's your average?
Justin Fields wouldn't have.
I agree with Dustin. The Bears made a game plan to run the ball. They abandoned it. They abandoned it because they didn't get 7 yards to carry, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you average 4 yards to carry, keep running the ball.
Let's talk about this. If Justin Fields throws the ball 52 times, what are his statistics?
Dude, why do we keep talking about Justin?
Becoming a
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields had a game where he threw 40 passes against Washington just last year, where he had over 300 yards.
You guys want to know what make you guys want to? You want to know what make Caleb? You want to know what make Caleb Williams a lot better?
Andy Dalton just threw for over 300 yards. I just said this. Yesterday, Andy Dalton threw for over 300 yards.
You guys want to know what make
you're going to get the yards.
Vernon, you make these points about coaching. You want to know what make Caleb Williams a lot better and Justin Fields a lot worse?
You guys told me Shane Waldron was the best hire in the world.
No, I did not. I never said that. You can go back and show me where I said that, Vernon. I've never said that once. As a matter of fact, I'm the one who brought up that Shane Waldron last year had the worst third down percentage of any offensive coordinator in the NFL. I said that on this podcast.
This is the point right here. Kyle Harris. Matt LaFleur wins that game with that Bears roster.
Yeah,
I asked you guys this exact question last week.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Sean. You said if they had this coach, and this coach, they lose that game. You said that last week, Sean. And I was just about to say to Vernon, if you switch Matt Eberflus and Mike Tomlin, does Caleb Williams get better and Justin Fields get worse? Yes, 100%.
I think if you switch no matter, guys.
So Matt Eberflus sucks.
We just talked about the coach. First off, I'm going to be clear with you guys in case you don't understand this. I'm going to break it down for you. Matt Eberflus has nothing to do with Caleb Williams. I want you guys to know that. Ryan Poles
everything to do with Caleb Williams.
Matt Eberflus has nothing to do with Caleb Williams. It's just
Number one, you're
Ryan Poles made it very clear. Ryan Poles made it very clear.
One of y'all got to talk at once, guys.
Ryan Poles made it very clear that there was going to be one person in charge of this offense. And it was going to be who? The guy that Matty Eberflus hired. That's who's going to be. You trust your man. You hire him. You bring him here. He runs the offense. You leave it alone. That was the deal. That's the deal. You call defensive plays. He does the offense. You guys fucking get married and love each other for the rest of life. That's it. There is no Matt. Don't step over here.
The head coach has to have a say in how the game is called, bud.
Brandon,
the head coach has to have a say.
Hold on. You guys are excusing the Caleb Williams interceptions, which is weird because I'm the Caleb Williams guy. You're excusing the Caleb Williams.
Kyle very specifically said you got to put the blame on Caleb Williams there. Kyle very specifically said that.
That's the first thing I said in this podcast.
Yes.
So what I've heard now is we should fire the coaches. Caleb Williams is also responsible for the interceptions, but he's not because he threw 52 times. You have to have a stance which you hold solidify. You have to. You
have to understand that there's a fucking gray area, bro. And it's a combination of multiple things. Brandon, any quarterback who drops back, tell me a quarterback who's dropped back that many times and hasn't thrown an interception. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Let me ask you guys.
You can't put your rookie quarterback in that position.
Hold on.
You have a chance to win the game.
You think Caleb Williams is the quarterback he's projected to be, correct?
I think Caleb Williams is who he is. He's a hell of a quarterback. Yes.
But you think that they go 2-3 over the next 5 games because of coaching?
Yes.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yes, that's
Possible.
a very real possibility.
So you think Caleb Williams is going to be phenomenal because that's who he's projected to be, but you think the Bears are going to lose 3 games because the coaches are so bad. How does
I think
that
it's
work?
here. I think it's very hard for a rookie quarterback to overcome those types of gaffes from your coaching staff.
So he's not going to be the guy who's projected
very
to be.
hard.
I agree, Dustin.
So Dustin,
Maybe later in the season.
Who the rookie is, bro. It doesn't matter if it's Peyton Manning.
Well, I'm going to make it clear for you. I'm going to make your opinion clear for you. So what you're saying is Caleb Williams won't be the guy.
I don't need you to make my opinion clear for me, Brandon. Watch what you're saying and how you're saying it, bro. You're making this silly.
He's not going to be the guy he's projected to be because his coaching is bad.
That's a real possibility. It happens in the NFL all the time, Brandon.
Right.
All the time.
All
the time. But yes, I'm going to have hope as a Bears fan that Caleb is who I think he is. Yes.
Hey,
I'm going to have that hope.
Brandon, and just so you know, because they talked about this on the score today, that Matt Eberflus is overseeing the offense.
Sorry, you can't understand nuance, bro. These things work together. It's not just cut and dry. It's this thing or it's this thing. There's nuance, and there's a lot of factors that are in play, and you got to try to understand that a little better because you're trying to put everyone in a corner with their takes, and you're fucking wrong, bro.
No, I think you can't have two. You can't have a generational talent at quarterback and lose majority of your season.
Okay, but again, David Carr was not a generational talent at quarterback.
No,
everyone thought he was. He got destroyed by that team.
I think
the way they set him up
was David Carr. No, he wasn't a generational talent. No, David Carr was not generational.
But Vernon, the Texans
were very
the Texans almost won 500 last year, and CJ Stroud led the league in passing yards. Man, I mean, there's so
Kyle, what are you saying? What are you saying? The Texans
there's so much gray area.
Mills just got another touchdown.
Hold on. CJ Stroud was the leading passer in the league last year. And they almost won 500. Are you saying that the Texans coaching staff is bad?
Brandon's going to ask you a question and look down.
Brandon, you're
hey, guess what, guys? The Jaguars are losing by 2 touchdowns. Brandon again. Yay.
Brandon's going to ask you the question and then look down.
I don't know.
He doesn't have time for your answer.
Sean,
what's up?
End the show, man. It's 7:00.
Really quick. David Carr was the first selected.
This is like a bad group family therapy session.
David Carr was the #1 overall draft pick in 2002.
He was a hell of a prospect coming out of college. He got destroyed by the position he was put in. If he had gone to a different situation, it might have worked out completely different. We have to acknowledge that.
So you don't think Caleb will be the guy he's supposed to be?
It's a very good possibility that it could end up not. He could end up being shell-shocked, dude.
Look at Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars, man. He was a generational talent.
This is where we disagree. I don't think Caleb folds under the coaching staff. This is where we disagree.
I hope not.
I don't believe it. You guys believe it? I don't believe it.
Here, let's just examine what was just said. I don't think that Caleb has anything to do. The coaching staff has anything to do with Caleb's success. Basically, is what you just said, right?
No.
What'd you say?
Caleb Williams is going to be a good player, no matter what.
It's in spite of the coaching staff.
I don't think the coaching staff is bad as you. I think they've progressed every week. You guys are ready to quit on a team after, dude. The biggest overreaction in the NFL. We're ready to quit on our entire team. You guys are quitting on the Bears after 3 weeks.
Do you acknowledge nobody's quitting on anybody?
Who's quitting on the Bears, dude?
Do you acknowledge the
coaching staff? Fire the coaching staff today.
Do you acknowledge the possibility that a coaching staff and an organization can ruin a quarterback? Keep in mind that you've been watching the Bears your whole life. Do you acknowledge the possibility?
I think it won't happen. That possibility exists. It can happen. It won't happen with Caleb.
It's totally possible that it happens, and we can't just ignore the fact that could happen to this quarterback too.
But if you believe that, Dustin, then you're saying to me right now the coaching's so bad, Caleb won't be the fucking guy he's supposed to be. That's what you're just saying.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that it could stunt his development. That possibility is real.
His development. Okay.
Yes.
You believe one of two things. The coaching staff is so bad, Caleb is not the guy he's projected to be, or you believe Caleb is the guy he's projected to be no matter how bad the coaching staff is.
Those two things do not exist by themselves. They work together in tandem. That's a
Kyle, what did you say half an hour ago? What did you say about Caleb Williams?
You said a lot of things, bro.
What did you say about Caleb Williams a half an hour ago?
Dude, there's just no point to the conversations ever get anywhere because you guys are understanding what each other saying. I mean, like, Brennan, there is gray area. I believe that eventually he will overcome his coaching deficiencies because he's one of the best. He's going to end up being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But also, it's going to make it really, really tough for him to win if the coaches continue to do what they're doing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're both correct. I mean, you could have Caleb Williams could be great, and the coaches could still be the best case scenario for him.
So you can't say he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL while also saying the coaches are so bad they're going to ruin him.
Yes, we can, because this might not be his coaching staff next year.
Did you hear me say they're going to ruin him, or he's going to overcome their deficiencies? Which did you hear? Did you hear me say they're going to ruin him?
Deficiencies, right?
Does Justin Herbert still have the same coach he came into the NFL with?
No, and he overcame coaching deficiencies.
Herbert looks terrible. He's the best head coach he's ever had. I'm glad you brought that up. He looks terrible. He looks
terrible. He's injured. He looked great in that game.
He's on my fantasy team. He's not even worth plugging in.
You didn't watch him play. You saw his stats. He looked great in that game, bro. He played really well against the best defense in the NFL until he got hurt. Herbert
just lost to field.
Okay, but you're getting that. My point is that these quarterbacks come into the league with a plan with their coaching staff. That plan fails. The coaching staff leaves, and then that quarterback can still go on to get better.
So
that's my point.
You think Caleb will fail this year because of the plan? The coaches will leave.
Nobody said Caleb's going to fail, Brennan. Nobody's used the word Caleb Williams or fail.
This year, what do you think happens with Caleb Williams this year?
Do you think if the Bears go 9-8, Brennan? You think if the Bears go 9-8, that's a failure?
I want to know, all three of you, where do you think Caleb finishes this year?
It could fall into all kinds of categories, bro. Yeah. He could get injured next week if they can't protect him.
Okay,
he could get injured for the season.
Where do you think Caleb Williams
that possibility exists.
That's not what if. Where do you think Caleb Williams finishes this year as a quarterback?
In terms of what, rankings?
Not record,
what
yes.
does that mean?
As an individual.
Quarterback rankings?
Because you guys, Dustin had him as a 4,000-yard, 30 touchdown player.
He can still throw for 4,000 yards this season. It doesn't mean that they're doing what's right for him, Brandon. It doesn't mean that.
Where does he finish, Dustin? Just answer the question.
What do you? You're in terms of yardage. Or you brought up the yardage. 4,000 yards.
Give me his stat line after week 3 because you guys were all gung ho week 1. Give me his stat line after week 3.
I still think he could throw for 4,000 yards. I still think he could throw for 25 touchdowns. But I still think that could equate to a losing season for the Bears, and it could lead to bad habits, and it could lead to him being put in positions where he is not getting what he deserves as a quarterback in this league. He's not getting the protection he deserves.
You think
he's not getting the game planning he deserves. Those two things can both be true.
I agree.
So you're on record on this channel for saying the Bears have a top 5 defense. You think the Bears have a top 5 defense. You think Caleb Williams throws 4,000 yards and over 25 touchdowns, and you think the Bears have a losing.
I picked the Bears to go to the playoffs, bro. I'm not feeling great about that pick. I picked Cincinnati to go to the playoffs. I'm not feeling great about that pick right now either.
Do you understand?
You act like we're just going to sit up here and know what the fuck we're predicting 4 months into the season. How do we know how that's going to go?
What I'm telling you is your guys' predictions changed from week 1 to week 3. That's what I'm telling you.
No, what I just told you is my predictions haven't changed. I still think Caleb can put up those
predictions
numbers.
For this team's overall record has changed, actually. Yes, it has. And
I haven't changed my record. I never said I was going to change my record.
So you think they're 10-7?
I'm sticking with what I picked. No doubt. I'm sticking with what I picked.
So you think Ibrahim gets fired after a 10-7 season?
So just because I'm sticking with what I picked does not mean that they finished 10-7.
Hold on. You think
look at what's on the field, Brandon. Look at what's in front of you. There's some bad signs here.
I'm going to clarify this for everybody out there. You think the Bears defense is a top 10 unit? You think Caleb has 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns plus? You think they finished 10-7? And you think the coach should be fucking fired? What the fuck? What kind of fucking? Are you serious?
Lovie Smith was fired after being 10-6.
Should he have been?
His last season, he was 10-6 and he was fired.
Should he have been?
It doesn't matter whether I believe he should have been or not. Doesn't change the fact that he was.
You guys think if Matty goes 10-7? Well, hold on. I went on the record. Matty Flus goes 10-7. You guys are saying he gets fired.
If the team continues to come and play the way that they are, then yes.
I'm saying if the team keeps playing like this, there's no way they go 10-7. There's no way they get to 10 wins if they keep putting up games like they put up yesterday.
Your overall record prediction.
No, I put my record on record. That's what I picked, but I'll be wrong. Is what I'm saying, Brandon. Why are you turning this into something that is not? We're talking about the same thing, but it feels like you got a very different agenda.
Brennan, how about we stop worrying about what we're saying and just tell us what you're saying, and we'd be done with this conversation. What do you?
Yeah, we got to wrap it up, boys.
What's the point you're trying to make?
I think if you believe the defense is a top 10 unit, and you believe Caleb Williams still to this day, because this was our projection before the season started.
Yes,
Caleb Williams throws 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns plus, and the defense is a top 10 unit, and the Bears win 10 games. Then you're wrong about the fucking head coach. That's what I think.
Okay, well then you think he's wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. If
Matt Eberflus says this head coach, I will go on record. The Chicago Bears will continue to fail. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's an awful head coach in the NFL. That's
if they go 10-7, there's no way Eberflus should get fired. There's no way
if the Bears go 10-7.
I don't see this team going 10-7.
Wait. You're on record today saying Eberflus should be fired today, week 3. If the Bears go 10-7, Caleb Williams throws 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and the defense is a top 10 unit. Were you wrong about saying Eberflus should be fired today? If that's the result, I just want to know if that's the result,
Brandon. But didn't you have the Bears defense? Where'd you have the Bears defense? You didn't have it as a top 10 unit.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I don't think you did. I think you had the Bears in the middle of the pack. 15.
No, I had their offensive line in the middle. I had their offensive line from 18th to 20th.
Guys, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna do this every week, where we just keep talking about, you said this. I mean, we're talking about what we see in front of us, guys. What we projected 4 weeks ago has nothing to do with what we saw yesterday on the field. Those are two different fucking things. Right. Let's react honestly to what we're seeing. Okay, honestly, if I see that team play like that in multiple games going forward, I don't see them winning any of those games. That's what I see. Doesn't mean I'm going to change my projection.
We're 3 weeks in. You just said we have to base it off what we see, but your record's still the same. Your Caleb numbers are still the same, and your defensive top 10 projection is still the same. So where am I missing something?
He just threw for 363 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game we dominated and we lost.
He also turned the ball. He also turned the ball over 3 times. Sean.
What they're trying to say is exactly what Harris is saying. Caleb Williams will be good regardless of coaching efficiencies because he's scheme proof. He's what you call a generational player. But they will minimize his potential. He will never reach his full ceiling with this coaching staff in place. Now, Caleb Williams could still go 10-7, still have a bunch of great numbers, but this coaching staff is the reason they lose games because we don't have any timeouts left at the end of the game, so on and so forth. And then next year, we get a better coach, and Caleb Williams looks like Patrick Mahomes, like generational type player, like where he's winning nonstop. He's the most dangerous player on the field all the time. That's possible. But as I agree with Dustin and Sean, at this time, if this coaching staff doesn't make some major changes, which they haven't done for the last 3 years, so I just don't see how it's going to happen, then they're going to limit Caleb Williams. Even if he's a good quarterback with good numbers, they could still lose plenty of games, close games. They could end up being 1-8 in one-score games. That makes them not a good football team, and they're not going to make the playoffs, and they're probably going to make a coaching change. Even if they go 9-8, they're probably still going to make a coaching change. If these things continue to happen, see, he's dropping back 60 times. They're abandoning the run. They're not using the running back they just paid. These guys are getting pre-snap penalties, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter what the record are. These guys are going to get fired because they don't have their team prepared to play football games. That's what they're going to get fired for.
The way it is right now.
I agree with you, Dustin. 100%. If all you can do, like Dustin said, is evaluate the 3 games we've seen this year. The 3 games we've seen this year, the coaching staff has not been good. So my evaluation is they are not good.
Matt Eberflus is the worst head coach in the NFL right now, based off of this first.
But if you believe that, then your projections have to change.
They don't.
They will. You guys
I'm sticking with what I picked. I'm going to be wrong. How do you not understand this? How are you not grasping this? Why would I change my projection?
You're saying what I said is on record.
All right.
So the Bears finished 10-7, but the head coach should be fired. The Bears finished 10-7, but the head coach should be fired.
Okay, Vernon, let's
you're twisting everybody's words.
Check this out, y'all. Kyle and I will be back on Wednesday, previewing the Bears and the Rams from the lakefront. We'll also give you, hopefully, back on track with some Smash fantasy picks. Check out Brando and Dustin. They'll be on after the Thursday night game. And if you're not a night owl, check them out on your way to work in the morning. That's what I've been doing because I got to go to bed too. These guys are nuts burning the midnight oil. But before we get out of here, Bears did lose. We're 1-2. We're hoping to go 2-2 next week.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go.
Fuck yeah.
That a boy. Awesome.
Hey, guys, thanks to all the listeners. We appreciate you. I want to thank River Street Tavern and Ideal Amusements both for being sponsors for the Four Star Chicago Sports Podcast. We really appreciate all you guys watching. We appreciate you guys commenting.
Yes.
Sorry if sometimes we get off track a little bit, guys. You know, we're very passionate Bears fans. We love the Bears. Obviously, everybody's going to have different opinions. We root for them to be the best team in the NFL. Hopefully, they can go out and beat the Rams next week. We'll talk to you guys later this week. We appreciate all of you.
Let's
love
give
you guys.
them some credit
Thanks
real
so
quick.
much.
Bruce Pham, Ant Mass, Kyle Harris, Vivi Jiggy, Joe Dicka. We had Elizabeth in here. Brew Hall was great. Scott Angel, Zach Lipsy. Guys, awesome chat tonight. This is the best one we've had.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
the best chat, man.
Yeah, by far the most interaction we've had with you guys so far. We really appreciate you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't even be doing this. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Bear down.
And we're out. Bear down.
Bear down.